this was told by a very, very old man who I met in Calcutta, the grandfather of a devotee. He's an actual ISKCON devotee, initiated in Calcutta, very sweet, took over the family business, quite an industrialist, with so much love for Srila Prabhupada. And he told me, oh, my grandfather met Srila Prabhupada when he was a very young man. And he's always kind of telling us little things, but if you came maybe formally, we could hear the whole story about he and Srila Prabhupada. He says, but actually he's dying of cancer. He's very, very ill. I don't even know if he'll last even a few more days. So we went there to his house, and I have a picture of each person that I took an interview from, and his picture is very touching. He was like, his face was eaten away, and yet he had this exquisitely blissful smile on his face. And so this is what he told. He said that when he was a young man, even in college, not even married or anything yet, now he was very old. And he said that he used to walk in Victoria Park every morning and do his daily constitutional walk. And he said that he noticed after a while that there was another gentleman, a Grihasta gentleman, who was very beautiful and had this quite a nice chatter and wore chappals and very aristocratic, kind of old-fashioned style, Vaishnava. And he used to be walking kind of on the same route as him. So he somehow made friends with him. And they used to take their walks together for some period of some months. And he said he loved this man, and who of course we know as our Srila Prabhupada. And he said he used to always talk to him, and he said that he would try and talk about some mundane things like his business and his school, his family. He said Prabhupada had no interest. He said, actually, I have to tell you. He said, I was born also in a very aristocratic Bengali family, but Krishna has been very kind to me, and somehow or other he has arranged that I would meet my eternal Gurudev. He goes, I have not taken initiation yet. He goes, but I have met him, and not only have I met him and have I given my heart to him, but also he has given me a very, very amazing and difficult order that I should go to the West and spread Krishna consciousness. He said, so now I can never be the same. He said, my life is completely changed. He said, I have wife and I have plans for family and home. And he says, and now I am his servant, his eternal servant. I can't do anything else. And then when they used to walk, at times Prabhupada would preach to him from the Gita and from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said he didn't have so much of a mind to hear it, but he just remembered one special thing that Srila Prabhupada said. He said he was always glorifying his Gurudev, and many times weeping when he would discuss about how much he loved him and how much he had changed his life in one conversation, and how he was practicing deeply already that Krishna consciousness that his Gurudev had ordered, and preparing himself, and already beginning to write in English. And so he just said that, he didn't have such mind. He goes, I was Arya Samajam. I was not from pure Vaishnava family. He goes, but I remember one time he told me this quote, and he used to quote it quite often, about how Krishna was just like the sun. And wherever there was any darkness or any fear or anything that wasn't beautiful and pure, then Krishna, the light of Krishna, could change that immediately if one could remember like that. He said he would always remind me. He goes, but I didn't practice so much. He said, but now, here I am. He goes, and for some period of time, I've been suffering terribly because this body is dying. He said, and what amazing thing has been happening to me. And I was telling my grandson, you please bring that person to come and I want to tell about this. He said, is that as I'm lying here, and my doctor would say that I should be in excruciating pain, he said, what I'm seeing is the face of that Srila Prabhupada. He said, I never got to see him again. He goes, I heard what he had done. in America and also in India, and I tried to go once to Mayapur, but he was out of station. He goes, I never saw him again. He said, but what I remember, his beautiful face and the way he preached with so much love and the potency of Krishna coming through him. He goes, now that is coming into my heart day and night. He goes, I'm seeing his face. And I am remembering what he said about no fear and no suffering. He goes, and I am feeling very, very blissful. And I am feeling very, very fortunate that he was my friend. That he was a friend to me. So this was told to us by an old gentleman, Vaishnav, who lives just a couple of doors down from Radha Damodar in one of those houses that front on the back. They kind of close in on the back of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi area. His name is Hridayananda Das Babaji. And we found him because the devotee who takes care of Srila Prabhupada's rooms, I asked him to keep an eye out, and he said this old man used to come all the time and cry in front of Prabhupada's murti there. And so we followed him home, and we found out, so we asked him, in his little room. His room was just completely cluttered and full of, books, Krishna conscious books. And when we asked him if he had any memories that he could tell us about Srila Prabhupada, he immediately began to weep, just like a baby, just weeping. And then he said, he goes, I've lived in Vrindavan. He says, I'm like 89 years old or something. I've lived in Vrindavan my whole life, and never, ever in my whole years that I've lived here have I seen anyone do sadhana like him. He said, and when I found out that Nityananda Prabhu had chosen him to go and break open the storehouse of love of God in the world, he goes, I wasn't at all surprised. So we said, well, what were those memories? What do you remember? He had a few memories, and the first one was, he said he used to live in that room, and he always lived in that same room. He never moved from that room. And he said he knew that Srila Prabhupada lived nearby him, and he always saw him going in and out of Radha Damodar and saw him going on parikrama around Vrindavan, but he was very grave. Prabhupada was very grave, he said, and very not social, just very walking and chanting. And he said even when he used to go to Radha Damodar sometimes to do parikrama, Srila Prabhupada would be either on the veranda there or in his rooms just writing and chanting, and he never wanted to disturb him. So he knew who he was, but did never spoken with him or anything. And he noticed that some evenings in the middle of the night, not evening, but in the middle of the night, he would hear this voice coming from the courtyard of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. And it would be like a crying voice, calling out, kind of, in this very pathetic tone. And it would go for quite a while in the night. But he said he was usually sleeping and he didn't go to investigate what it was. And he heard it quite regularly. And then he said one night he heard that again, and it was a full moon, and he wasn't that sleepy, and he decided to go up the stairs and go up to the roof. And so he was standing on the roof in the middle of the night, and he was looking down into the courtyard. And what he saw by Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir and Samadhi was, he saw our Srila Prabhupada, and he was bending down in front of the Samadhi, and he had a broom, like a broom made out of straw. And he was sweeping there in that courtyard, and as he was sweeping, he was crying. And he was calling out, "Hey Gurudev, hey Gurudev, give me your mercy, give me your mercy. Hey Rup, hey Sanatan, give me your mercy, please give me your mercy. Without your mercy, how can I do what you have asked me to do?" And he said then he realized that all those times that he had heard that in the middle of the night, that was our Srila Prabhupada performing one aspect of his sadhana there, in that very special place for him.